it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets and welcome to another Sketch Sunday video. This week's sketch comes to you from my brain. I couldn't find a sketch that I liked anywhere and I needed to make a card for my dad's birthday, so I came up with this concept. I found one of my stamp sets that I bought a while ago for a specific purpose, and it was actually to make a card for him, and I just never got around to making it, so I thought this would be the perfect time. His birthday is in the middle of this month. Happens to be the same day as my twin niece's first birthday, so I just want him to know that he's not forgotten because, we're going to be doing a big bash for the twins, so I want to make sure that he has a little bit, he has something at least for his birthday. So I'm going to show you guys real quick the supplies that we're going to use to make this card, and it's going to be based off of the movie Office Space. If you guys haven't seen it, you probably won't totally get the card, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you see it because I think it is absolutely hysterical. My dad and I used to work for the same company, and we could pick out real life people that went along with each one of the characters in the movie. So first I'm going to start off with the supplies. We're going to be using a couple things of distress ink. This is tumbled glass. And then we're going to be using 3 brown distress ink colors to create a realistic wood base. So we're going to be using tea dye. This is vintage photo. And we're also going to be using a little bit of walnut stain. That's the dark one. Okay, we are going to be using 3 stamp sets from my favorite, 2 stamp sets and a die set from My Favorite Things. We are going to be using the appropriately named Office Space stamps. We're going to be using the computer, which looks like a Mac monitor, and we're going to be using the stapler, which is an important part of the Office Space movie. I cut out 2 of the computer monitors because we're going to do something with that, and then I cut out the stapler. So that's those sets, and then we are going to be using the Happy Birthday from this CS Western Sentiment stamps from My Favorite Things. I picked out a couple colors of ink. Now I used my ink swatch ring. If you guys haven't seen it, this is what it looks like. I just kind of put a swatch of each color down because if you have a lot of inks, you'll notice that the lid colors aren't always true to the actual color. So we're going to be using Hero Art Shadow Ink and Soft Granite. We're also going to be using the Mid-Tone in Charcoal. My Favorite Things Red Hot Hybrid Ink. So see, this looks kind of pink. It's actually really red. We're going to be using Memento Tuxedo Black Ink. We're going to be using a background stamp from Hero Arts, and this is the envelope pattern. And probably some glossy accents on the stapler, a Zig 2-way pen, and we are also going to be using the ATG gun, as well as a Darice embossing folder. So lots of stuff, so let's hurry up and get started on this. So the first thing that I want to do is the background of my card. So I've already cut the card base out, and it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I used 120 pounds cardstock. I like to do that for my bases so that my bases are nice and thick. So the first thing that we're going to do, I have this scratch piece of paper here for doing some techniques. My craft mat is actually full of paint. I painted some letters for my new office at the new house, and I just haven't had a chance to wash it off yet. So I'm going to ink up this background stamp in the Hero Art Shadow Ink Soft Granite. Now this stamp is really hard to tell if it's inked up really well because you can't really see it. Like, I'll show it to you guys. You're not really going to be able to see, like, you can see a little bit when you hold it up to the light, but it's really difficult to tell when it's inked up, so you just kind of do your best. And then with large background stamps, what I like to do is I actually like to take the paper directly to the stamp, put it down, and then take that scratch piece of paper while I'm holding it down, go over it. I've done this in plenty of other videos if you've watched any of the other ones, and like I said, you can use a brayer, you can use your fingers, you can also take another stamp and just kind of rub, and I think that's what I'm going to do. That actually puts a lot of pressure on it. You just try to hold it down so that the card background doesn't slip. So I think that's good enough. And remove the background and lift it up, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but there it is. So this is kind of going to be the cubicle. You know, you have those boring gray cubicles in the back, and don't worry, there's like a little splotch here. You don't have to worry about that. That's actually a piece of fuzz, I think, that was on the background of the stamp, but we're actually going to be covering most of this background up. But I kind of thought that just looked like the background of you know, those boring cubes. Okay, so this piece is we're going to turn that into the wooden desk piece. So it is 2.5 inches by 4 1/4. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the lightest color of the brown distress ink, which is tea dye. So I'm going to ink up my round blending tool, and I'm going to start off the paper and then just put a fairly light coat down onto it. I don't really want any harsh edges. I'm just trying to get the paper covered without any circles. So if you start off the paper first, that really helps you not to get a big circle in the middle of your piece. I like these mini ink blending tools better than the square ones. I think that it doesn't leave as big of an impression. If you accidentally put the circle in here, I don't think it's as bad as the square ones. If you've ever used them, you probably understand what I mean. You've used both of them. Because I just think I'm rambling right now. So, okay. So, and again, I did not come up with this technique. I found it somewhere. I think it was Britta Swiderski came up with this. And there's actually a way, if you wanted to do a floor, there's actually some scoring that you can do along with it. I think I did something in an older video about this. So what we're going to do for this, so we're going to do it multi-toned. So we're going to take the embossing folder, and we're going to put it in there, just to give it a little bit of texture. I'm going to put this off to the side. And I have the Genius platform, so this is what it looks like. And there are 2 pads that you can use. This is the thinner one, and you use this for embossing folders, and you use the thicker ones for wafer thin dies. And then this is the Cut-A-Bug, so I'm just going to stick this through and turn the crank, and it will emboss that piece fairly quickly. And I will show you guys what it looks like. So this is what it looks like. So now it has a little bit of texture to it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring this piece back. We are going to take the other 2. So the walnut scene is the darker of the 2. So first we're going to go with Vintage Photo. And we're just going to very lightly, we're just going to kind of highlight some of this. So now the pieces that were debossed are going to be the very light tea dye. And then you're going to have the embossed pieces, which are going to be covered with this Vintage Photo. Now, you don't have to do the third step with the walnut stain if you don't want to, because that looks pretty good. But I think I'm just going to do a little bit of highlighting just over some of the edges, just to give it a little bit more dimension. And see, right there I have the little circle. See if I can try to get rid of that. Come back in with some tea dye distress ink and try to, well, we may put that at the top or put the stapler over it just to kind of hide it. Okay, so that's how you get a wood grain look from distress inks, and it will give you some depth and dimension. You can see all 3 different colors in this piece now, so that gives it a little bit more of an interesting feel. So we're going to put this to the side because I don't think I need that anymore, so that's going to be here. So then I'm just going to plan out where I'm going to do the rest of my card. So we're going to have the computer monitor, and we can put it right there, and the stapler down here. So it looks like that. I'm thinking I'm going to want to pop this computer up on some pop dots. So I do have some of the pop dots from the dollar bin at AC Moore or Michael's, so we can use some of those. I do have those on the side, even though I didn't mention it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this card base to the side, and we are going to start, bring this back, and we are going to stamp the monitor. Okay, so the monitor, my Fiskars stamp press broke, which kind of is upsetting. I must have stepped on it while we were moving things. And we are going to use the mid-tone ink and charcoal and ink this up. So I've never stamped this before. So I'm actually going to stamp it onto this scrap piece just to see how it stamps, just to see if it gives a nice solid image. Okay, I just have to ink that bottom piece up a little bit more, and there's some ink that got onto the monitor. I don't think that it really, the stamp is really sticky. I don't think it really matters. Wow, that doesn't usually happen. The stamp is very, very sticky, and the tissue is sticking to it. Okay, so we have 2 chances because I cut out 2 monitors. So, because there's something that I want to do with the tumbled glass. So I'm going to make sure that I ink this up very, very well. Okay, and then I am going to stamp it onto the cutout monitor. And I know some people do it before, some people do it after. It's really a personal preference what you think works best for you. I haven't found either one to be more effective than the other way. I've done both. Stamped it first and then cut it out, and I've cut it out and I've done vice versa. So, okay. Now the thing about this is that it is a shadow ink, so it will, I think it came out pretty good. It's a little crooked, but that's okay. We have another try. What I was saying was that because it's a shadow ink, it will look a little splotchy at first, and it will dry back to be solid. Okay. So let's try this one. Oops. Let's ink this top up just a little bit more. Okay, and we will try the second monitor. And it doesn't matter that I got some little fingerprint smudges on here, because we are going to be covering the center up, and that is why I cut 2 of these out. Now it's kind of difficult to see because I'm stamping onto white paper. If there was a different color cardstock underneath, it would be easier to see where my boundaries are, my borders and stuff. A little off center too. Oh, actually that one came out pretty good. I think that one came out better. So we're going to use that one as the main base, and then we're going to use the other one as center. So we're going to bring this piece back over here. We're actually just going to be using this white piece in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the tumbled glass, because I didn't want the screen to just be white. I thought that would be a little bit boring. So we're going to take some of the tumbled glass, which is a very, very light blue. We're just going to start to sponge some of it on. Or just a light blue background. I'm sorry if you guys can't see what I'm doing. Just trying to hold this down. You didn't have to stamp this, cut another one of this out. I could have just cut out a rectangle to put in there, but I thought, 1, it would give me 2 chances at stamping this. And 2, it would be the perfect size. I wouldn't have to worry about measuring or doing anything like that. Okay. So now that we have done the screen, I think that looks pretty good. Do a little bit more down here. Just kind of go over and smooth it out. You could use a couple of different colors and blend them together. If there was a certain color that you were looking for, like if you wanted a darker blue, you could put a darker blue on top of it and have the edges darker and the middle be lighter. But I kind of like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cutter bee scissors and I'm just going to very carefully cut along the outside, trying to make sure I get as close to the gray line as possible. And it's not a straight line, kind of curves in a little bit at the bottom. I probably could have stamped the happy birthday before I went and did this, but that's okay. I'm gonna cut off that one. So what we're going to do is it's going to look like that. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. So now what we're going to do is I've put the happy birthday on a block. It fits very nicely in here. Just pick it up. And we are going to stamp in the Memento Tuxedo black ink. And I don't know if I've used this one before, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stamp it right in the middle. It stamps very nicely. Okay, so here we go. And hopefully I'm stamping it in the correct direction. The screen in the correct direction. And there is the happy birthday. So we are going to take the Zig 2-way glue pen and I am going to glue this onto the monitor. And the monitor portion is done. So there you go. That's what the front of the card is going to look like. It's going to have the happy birthday on it. So I'm going to put that over to the side. Now I'm going to take the stapler, which I'm hoping will fit onto this block. I have to use the Fiskars stamp press again. Oh. And of course I got black ink all over myself. That sounds about right. Sometimes you can just angle them just right. Yep. Okay. So now since I've never used this stamp before either, I'm going to ink it out in my favorite things, Red Hot Hybrid ink. And stamp it out. Okay, so it stamps a little bit splotchy, but it will dry back to be more solid. Black on there somehow. Black ink on there. Okay, so now we are going to try the stapler. Okay. Just walk your fingers all over. I hope you guys are able to see. I hope I'm not too far off. Not sure if you guys are going to like this angle. I'm trying to do something a little bit different. There you go. There's the stapler. If you guys like this camera angle, let me know. Or if you would rather it come from in front or just one of the groups that I was in, the people were saying that it's better to show it from kind of your point of view. This is as close as I can get to it, just the way my craft room is set up. So let me know if you like it or not. I think we're going to put this on some pop dots and we are going to put the stapler right here. Stapler on the desk. It's not exactly the best solid image, but I'm hoping that's going to dry back a little bit more solid. But I think I might use, actually, if I use glossy accents on this, it might cover it up a little bit. So we are going to use the ATG gun to put some tape onto the wooden piece, the wooden desk. And I know for me, masculine cards are the toughest out of all of the cards I ever have to make. I find it very, very difficult to come up with a good concept for masculine cards for some odd reason. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people do have difficulty with that. Okay, so we are going to put ATG on the stapler. And again, if you guys haven't seen the movie, you won't get the significance of the red stapler, but it actually plays a pretty significant part in the movie. Okay, so then we are going to cover up that spot that I made the kind of mistake on. And we are going to take the pop dots, and these are just circle pop dots. You just pop them out of this, and they have backings on both sides. So they're sticky on both sides. You can use foam tape, foam dots, foam squares. There are so many things. You can use craft foam. If you use craft foam, you can cut it down to the exact shape that you have. So the whole entire thing will have one piece of craft foam behind it. Craft tape, you can get a lot of, you can do like straight lines for it. I don't do that just because these are so inexpensive. They're usually $1, and then I get a ton of them when there are like the 20% off of everything coupons. So I don't think it's bad to pay 80 cents for I think it's the 100. And then you can actually take, like I did here, you can cut pieces out for it if you don't need the whole circle, or if you need an odd shaped piece, you can do that and kind of create your own. So you have the 100 plus all the rest of this, all the, you know, the interior and exterior pieces that are left behind. Okay, so then, I don't know if we're going to do one down there, or you know what, I'm just going to I'm going to do just that. I'm going to cut off this piece here for the bottom so that it is up on a piece of foam. And then just remove all of the backings from all of these guys. I know this is exciting footage to watch me removing the backs of these. It's difficult with nails. Okay. One last one. And we're going to put it right over that space. So there you can see the computer monitor is popped up off of the desk, and then you have your stapler here. So what we're going to do is use the glossy accents. Now I use, the glossy accents that I have are 2 ounces, and I found, somebody had said, that it might have been Jennifer McGuire, that you can take one of these plastic tags that, you know, everyone gets from their clothing, and you can put it in here and it will not clog. But that's only if you clean out the nozzle each time, which I did not do when I used it this morning. I must not have cleaned it out well enough, and sometimes it does get clogged. So you just push this back in, and then just start to squeeze it, and it should come back out. So we're going to put glossy accents. There we go. Now glossy accents will make your object look cloudy, but when it dries it has a little bit of dimension and it gives it a shine. I thought the stapler would look nice. And one of the big lines from the movie is, "Have you seen my stapler?" So I think that's what's going to go on the inside of this card. So I'm not going to pick this up, because if you pick it up, the glossy accents will start to run. Just trying to, got a little bit of, it did run a little bit here, so I will take an X-Acto knife and try to scoop this back up into there. But this is the card. I will have a picture of it finished after the glossy accents dries on my blog, so please head over to my blog to check it out. The link is listed below this video. And thank you guys so much for watching another Sketch Sunday. I'll see you guys later. Bye!